From casual blogging to head of content at a $100 million hot startup in the most booming space, AI. Kind of guessing on the actual valuation there, but it can't be too far off since they just raised $13.9 million last year. I got to chat with Nathan, who is the head of content for Copy AI, a go-to-market superpowered sidekick designed to help teams across departments eliminate bloat and automate tasks. As the head of content, Nathan gets a first-hand look at what's working well and what isn't. And for a company that's growing like Copy AI, I feel pretty confident in taking his advice. So if you want to know what's working in content, the best strategies for using AI in your go-to-market, and what the future of technology looks like, this is for you. Hey Nathan, thanks so much for taking the time to chat with me today. I'm excited to have you on the Hey Nice SaaS podcast. So why don't you start? Just tell us who you are and what you do, and maybe a bit about what you're working on now.
Uh, my name's Nathan. Thank you so much for having me. Love the name, by the way. Hey, nice sass. That makes me feel special as a guest. That's awesome. Um, my name's Nathan. I'm head of content strategy at Copy AI. Um, my background is a bit varied. I started just doing like random blogging for money back in 2014, 2015. My wife and I had lived abroad at that time before we were married, kind of young and in love, and traveled through Europe, which was fun. Just needed a way to make more money because we were broke. So I started writing articles for just, one-off cash and kind of understand how everything worked. And then realized that my degree in communications and the skills that had worked there made me a better writer than a lot of people who are more technical. And so the SaaS community kind of welcomed those types of skills with open arms at that time. If you were a good writer, you could come in, learn SEO, take a deep dive, and then do pretty well. And that's kind of what happened. Ended up going from freelance blogging to an in-house role where I had a great mentor, this guy Frank over at Snipcart, as an introductory to SEO. Then hopped over to OptinMonster, where I feel like I got my graduate degree. I worked really closely with a woman named Angie Meeker. She's still over there running things. Um, just an amazing, but difficult learning. Um, Everything was written by hand, and it was at least 8 to 10 posts a week, and I was doing all the writing, and they were very similar in nature, but with different nuances, and you couldn't duplicate content. So that was tough. But then I went to an agency and I started getting in working more with B2B brands there, as with animals for quite a while. And then, hopped over, did my own thing for a bit, and then jumped on board with Copy AI when I saw what they were doing. I did everything I could to stay with them. I did, and so here I am now, running things here.
That's incredible. I love the journey to where you are, right? You cut your teeth in a world that it's near and dear to me. I will say I am no copywriter by any stretch of the imagination, but I have an admiration for good copy. I think I posted the other day, just every now and then I'll have a random thought that just like ekes its way through the filter. I'm like, the internet doesn't care, but this is my thought.
Yeah.
And that was man, woman, wizard, or muggle. I don't care if you write good copy, I'm reading it. And it's just kind of like, I'm just a sucker for good writing and good story. And
Yeah.
that said, like, I mean, yeah, you've got quite the path to where you are. Tell me a bit about what is Copy AI. Maybe share a bit about how you guys started, and then what y'all are building today.
Yeah, so Copy AI is the first GTM AI platform or go-to-market AI platform, which essentially builds AI workflows that codify processes and playbooks rather than one-off tasks. So, and we could talk about this a little bit later. When people say AI, typically they're talking about copilots like ChatGPT. Write me a LinkedIn post on content marketing that I'm going to toss up later, and that's fine. It can help, but for larger teams, it has ramifications down the road that can also compound and scale and lead to data silos and different problem, inconsistent messaging across your team, all that kind of thing. So as a go-to-market platform, what we are doing is really aligning sales, marketing, customer success, but focusing more on sales and marketing right now, and helping those teams really succeed in a time where there's no such thing as free money right now. Investors are really being careful with where they're putting their money. Um, there's just this ongoing search right now to reduce customer acquisition costs at all costs, anything that you can do, and increase the lifetime customer value. And so all of those things coming together really made AI the perfect solution for people trying to get more done with less. I know that's a bit of a tired phrase, but it is spot on. So
That's incredible. No, I can speak from the perspective of like, needing more hands than you have at your disposal kind of
Yeah.
an approach. It's like, yeah, how can I don't love the term like duplicate myself because really it's skills that I don't possess sometimes, right? It's like,
Yeah.
yeah, I can't hire out these on salary, but how can we build them on, yeah, how job functions and roles and duties can be an assistant?
Well, it's funny you said this earlier because I felt you when you said you're not a good copywriter, but you admire good copywriters. What's funny about me, I don't know. I've never written a so I could be, you could be terrible at copywriting. My hunch, though, is that you and a lot of people are actually a lot better than you think. I don't consider myself a good copywriter. Or I would say not my, our audience is our copywriter. Like they're where I find my words. So
Yeah.
this was something I learned at OptinMonster, and it was a lot of fun. So OptinMonster is a pop-up form, and you grow your email list. And every time at that point, maybe it's changed a little, but at that time, when people heard the word pop-up, they vomited in their mouth a little, just because it was done so wrong so often. But what I was learning with OptinMonster was how to do it right, because we really had to get clear on how you can increase conversions from your blog, from your landing pages, all of these things. So we would do A/B tests on our own pop-ups quite often. The number one rule that hit me time and time again is clear beat clever every single time. I'd write a piece of copy. I felt so proud of myself. What a great copywriter I must be. The world is going to stop when they read these 5 words. And then we would A/B test that against something stupid like webinar on this date. And every time the clear message won out in the conversion rate every single time. So I think with copy, with a lot of these skills, people overthink it. And AI is hopefully giving people the confidence that they should have had all along with some of
Yeah.
these writing things.
No, I love that. I love that. I think it was like Donald Miller and Story Brand, right? Like talking about like you confuse, you lose, simple is best, like the whole mantra of like just reduce it down to its
Yeah.
most base level. And in editing too, like from the video production side of things, like you have to cut out the good to leave room or to only keep what is great. And it's like
Yes.
the
Yes.
simplification. Take something complex, make it simple. And I love a good, pun and dad joke and dry humor is my preferred method of communication, but it's
Great.
not always the best. Yeah, when it's too fluffy and yeah, too clever, it doesn't get the message through. So
And depends on the channel too, right? Like
fair.
Instagram and social media, you have a small square with a little bit of text. Yeah, it should be punchy and really cool and
Yeah.
funny. Your blog post introductions, you don't need to spend 3 hours making them Shakespearean. No one's going to read them in that level of detail that you have
Yeah.
to punch it up that much or spend your time punching it up that much. Yeah, I think right now with content, it's really important to figure out where you're spending your time and energy and creativity because there's a lot of places you can waste it.
Yeah, I love that. And we talked a little bit about, offline, we talked about diminishing returns, right? Diminished returns on like, which I think is important. And I bring it up because it's where you're spending that time. Is it a lever worth pulling? Is it something worth investing your energy into, or is it better spent somewhere else? So, as we kind of allude to that, I'm curious, which techniques are most effective for you guys? What are the best levers that y'all are pulling, and what have you seen the most success in?
Yeah, so and it will definitely the answer that I give will be different for every company, just depending on how they measure success. So I can tell you what our team would measure as success right now, and also a bit of back context. We were um, initially a B2C brand, so it was going for consumers, $40-$50 a month, I believe, was the pro price. Awesome detail, but it was a competitor with ChatGPT. It was a chat wrapper or a copilot in that way. It's when workflows came out a little over a year ago, and our new CMO, Kyle Coleman, had come on board about 9 months ago, that we made a pivot to B2B. And we were solving these bigger, more complex problems. And that meant making a different type of content and focusing less on high volume traffic. Like we get a ton of traffic to our free tools pages, free paragraph rewriter, free sentence rewriter, something like that. And those are great from our B2C days. But now the person going to paragraph rewriter for free likely isn't coming because they are the head of some go-to-market function within a B2B company that they're looking for this. They're not the right people coming to the site. So now our traffic has turned into literal traffic, just blocking up the highways, and we're trying to unclog that a bit. The things that we have seen work best right now um, were webinars have been awesome. I think I know the webinar funnel play is annoying. I think one problem people have with webinars is they don't take enough time figuring out what content will really matter to the people they want to speak to. They're just like, oh, we'll just do a webinar. And then one guy,
Yeah.
like, Ted in the corner comes up with a topic and everyone runs with it. You have to have a little more thought. And I get it, thinking is hard, but that's what you're paid for. So you think about the topic, the substance, and who it's for. And then, like, we've spent no money on paid ads at all for our webinars, and I think we had over 1,000 registrants last time with 77 opportunities created. So the webinars have been huge, very, very big. The other sources, and I'm counting success, by the way, not on traffic at all. Definitely on demo requests and then
Yeah.
our qualified leads. Um, we then have so the webinar, our blog content, our B2B blog content is getting demos, and I've been really happy about that. I have to do some refreshes. My SEO strategy is a little bit different right now because we're kind of building the plane while flying with this AI thing. So I'm just kind of throwing spaghetti at the wall, seeing what happens. The blog posts that are sticking are getting demos along with a microsite that we built with AI, which was fun, purely for sales use cases, which was a neat experiment. So right now it's a bunch of lever pulling, but really content is driving the engine and a bunch of outbound. Our sales team is just awesome. So we don't do the fully automated AI agents for our outbound prospecting. We do a much more like lower volume, but use the tools to get more in-depth research about the person so you can just show up to the calls knowing who you're talking to. So that's been very helpful too.
That's incredible. I will say, as one who is whatever's beneath a novice, uh, that is me in this world, right? I'm but a sponge soaking it all up. I love it, but I'm. It's refreshing to hear that content is such a driving force. Obviously, that's the seat you comfortably sit in. That's the world you know well. But I am very partial. Like my day job, right? The thing that pays the bills, my focus, my passion is video assets. It's creative videos, it's brand films, it's value oriented content, but it's all through the lens of a camera, right? It's how can we create something that is engaging or entertaining, but it does something for those we're trying to reach. So that's my focus. So I say that to say, like, again, it's refreshing to hear that content in any modality, in any form, is such a big driving force in y'all's success. And then also, I don't know if I shared this with you offline or not, but about 10 months ago, I guess, was kind of the conception of this idea that I just couldn't get out of my head. As with everyone else in the world, becoming obsessed with ChatGPT and how do I use this to reduce my workflow and everything from market research to pre-production processes. How do I just make them more refined, and honestly, like, improve the efficacy? Because there's, a machine probably that's trained on repeated tasks has more accuracy than my human brain, with not enough coffee in the afternoon. So, um, that said, I try to find every opportunity not to pursue this because it's, again, I'm not a coder. I'm not in the tech world. I love content. I love marketing. But fast forward a few months in, I find myself on a no code builder fashioning together this little tool that was initially going to generate content. In the world we live in now, with things rapidly evolving, I felt like its initial use case was kind of a commodity and honestly done far superiorly to, much better on natively on platforms, right? Like, what I was creating wasn't worth pursuing anymore. So breaking away from that, I realized, well, the initial value that I started off in the first place was just to bring in these roles that, like I said before, like, if I can't pay salary for a CMO to come and sit in, or a creative director to come and sit alongside me, or any task, any role. And then I was like, okay, well, this isn't just valuable for myself. There are a lot of small, lean marketing teams or small businesses that could benefit from this. Long story and setup to say, I know the content that I produce. I know the marketing that I've created. This was a whole, like, entirely new endeavor for me. So as I kind of navigate this, and I'm realizing, like, okay, well, if I'm not technical, the best thing I can do is have an ear to the floor, hear from the people I'm trying to serve, get like, create the MVP, get their feedback, build it out as imperfect as it may be, get it into their hands, and just give them something to that I can iterate on. But yeah, long, rambly, windy way of saying, that was my initial kind of, like, I guess, entry into this world of SaaS, and that's kind of what birthed the passion.
Well, I
So,
think it makes sense, and I think you're specifically, and I don't want to cut into
no,
the
it's great.
conversation if we're headed this way, but I was going to say I think you're specifically because of your involvement in video, um, are set up very well for the new content future, which makes it sound way more dramatic than it is. But I think that that video really is going to be because look, right now with a video, let's say we were going to take this video and you and I worked together. There is easily a world where you and I wake up, we have our coffee, and at 8 in the morning, we have a 30-minute call recorded. By 10 o'clock on that same day, on our website is a blog post that hosts the video, is the YouTube description was generated. We have 2 LinkedIn posts for distribution. We have 3 emails, one for each of our segment, people who have kind of fallen off, people who were interested in listening to the last one, people who missed the last couple, but they normally listen. So we can really personalize to people by their behavior. We can create copy for Instagram, carousels, TikTok, any text-based copy that we want within an hour and a half. Now we have this video promoted and distributed across 5 or 6 different channels. Uh, and we didn't need to hire a team of 20 people, everyone half working, because that's just what
Yeah,
happens. It's
yeah,
just what happens.
yeah.
So I think with video, I think a lot of video and audio assets are going to start taking over, and it's going to, I hope, my hope is it's going to make the internet a lot more fun because I
No, I agree.
think it's going to be a little less polished. Like these conversations, I'm not going to worry about being polished. I get to show up as myself. If I mess up or I say a stupid word or something, worst case, people know like, oh, that's not AI Nathan. That's like actually Nathan. That's cool. I think people are going to crave that quite a bit.
Yeah, well, there's hope for me yet, is what I hear. But no, that's great, and I'm glad that you kind of caught where I was. My overly caffeinated afternoon conversation was going, but like, that's exactly it, right? It's like because what comes to mind is the people I've worked with over the last few years, right? They might have a small team that's wearing many hats, or it's solopreneurs or a lean marketing team, or like you said, like whoever's in charge of like GTM that has to take over these multi modalities, and it's like it's not an excuse for them to become apathetic and just kick their feet up and take a day off. It's like, how can they get an exponential return of that same effort, right? And it's multi-purposed on that same piece of content because it needs to be multimodal and it needs to be palatable in multiple ways because that's how people consume things. And I'm with you, like more personality, more of the quirky, just human aspects of it, and then we use AI to just help with distribution and repurposing. Yeah, that's the world that I am excited about. But
What's been super fun is we've been doing that with our thought leadership pieces internally. And so I'll have recurring meetings with our C-suite folks and we'll just talk for 15 minutes or so. And then I'll take the transcript and we'll create either a blog post or social copy from that. But when we use the transcript, the hallucinations are negligible because it's pulling from it's not making stuff up. And it's when you bake it in there, like in the transcript, I can have it and make one step like, hey, extract the uniquely human insights from this person, from this transcript, then take those insights and formulate the content from that. You get quotes extracted, you can get research added, internal links. It's just all these little things that take up so much time don't anymore. And I know it's
yeah,
scary to a lot of people, but I really think it's something worth getting excited about because I don't think these are the type of tasks that particularly filled up any humans in the first
yeah,
place. They're not
yeah,
made for us to do that. So,
exactly. Yeah, I think we iterate and create, ideate, all the things, all the eights. I think we do them well, and when we're freed up cognitively to put our best and most optimized effort toward that, I think it's a better outcome in the end.
yeah, I totally agree. And I don't want to beat a dead horse by any means. There's got to be a better phrase I could use than that, but whatever. I won't beat a dead horse. But the way that I think AI works most efficiently, and it's why workflows, I believe, are the solution over copilots or AI agents, and I can talk about that more in a second. But whenever I create any piece of content, and I think this is true for anyone creating any piece of content, you have the strategy on the front, then you have the first draft of the content that needs to be created, then you have the polishing that needs to get done by an expert, an editor, or someone who does something, and then you have the distribution. I only need AI at step two of that. So I keep strategy fully human. I'm choosing the keywords, or I am having the conversations. I'm figuring out what questions would be most interesting to our thought leaders or our audience. I'm creating the narrative for our category, all that stuff. I say I very loosely. I mean our team, obviously. Our
Yeah,
team's really
yeah,
awesome, but you know what I mean. Then AI writes the first draft of whatever is outline that I need. Something that I would hand off to people act like everything on Google was written by these experts all the time. It's something that realistically companies were sending to people on Fiverr, and then it would come back to an editor, and this is where we have a human in the loop, either me or another writer.
yes.
And then I distribute it as I see fit. I create the content calendar, decide what channels it should go on, and when it should get published. And I've said this in many other places, but I will say it again. If you've ever seen a bad piece of AI content online, on a website, on social media, that is not an AI problem. That is a human problem. It cannot publish itself. So a human looked at that writing and said, this passes my bar of quality, and they clicked publish. That's still a human problem. So we got to get away from this AI is the bad guy. None of the output is getting tattooed on your body. It is all flexible. You can change anything. I just think it's so. You could tell I've had this conversation before. I'm sorry.
I
We don't
love it.
stuff.
No, hey, this is what I'm here for. And I was gonna make a joke and say, the fact that it's human error, like country music should be justification of that. And I'm sorry, I probably offended people. I hate country music, but it's funny. Like this is totally off the point here, but I live in Texas, and many people love country music here, and my wife included. And she'll play a song, and I'll turn it down. Now I'll have a serious look, like a concerned look, and I'll ask her. I'll say, people hear this, and actually, like they speak the words. Yeah, that sounds good. I like that.
Yeah.
Like that blows my mind. So that said, it's kind of like the AI, like it didn't generate itself. It didn't. The input comes from somewhere, so the output is directly in response to that. So I get it, and I love the approach of. You mentioned a couple of things. I am so relieved to hear that I've kind of arrived at like the right place in the iteration of my own little SaaS project, because where I sit now, it's like I'm a big believer in the human in the loop component as it pertains to especially the world I live in, right? And all it is effectively making things more within reach to people that can't really hire out those roles on a salary basis. I think that's kind of like the premise of what I've been creating. So it's like, okay, if we can take something that was maybe 80% to the finish line, and then we polish it. We put a human touch on it. We make it better. We either give it a little bit more of the voice, the tone of voice it needs, or give it a little bit more of that character and the essence of what it needs to be. Like whatever that little polish, depending on the objective and the use case, whatever that little polish is, like we take it across the finish line. Maybe it's that first iteration, which wouldn't have been perfect anyway, even if written by a human. And then we just kind of make it, we polish it up, shine it up, and make it ready for the world. That's a winning combination in my mind. So I'm glad to hear that.
And people keep forgetting this is the worst it's ever going to be. It just
Exactly.
gets better. Like the
Yeah.
quality of all this just gets better and better. Somebody wrote on LinkedIn something about AI can't create briefs as well as I can. I'm sorry, it just can't. What is A, not to call out this person, but A, how arrogant, how unbelievably arrogant to say not only am I better by hand than the world's greatest technology we've ever produced, but I'm better by hand than other humans using the
Yeah.
greatest technology that that's such an arrogant stance to me. It's wild that people are taking the position that humans plus AI can't create better quality stuff. That's I don't understand it. Apart from that though, um, okay, let's say that it can't today. 6 months, a year, 5 years, 10 years. You're telling me in 10 years it won't be able to do that based on what it's doing now? 10 years ago, what was the technology like? Like,
Exactly.
get out of
Yeah.
here. This thing is just going to get better and better. So it's really smart to get good at it now. It would be
Yeah.
my advice.
No, I'm with you. It's like it's a tool, right? And I
Yeah.
used this is probably I'm a guy who likes simplicity, right? And I'm a visual person, obviously, the industry I'm in. But I was in a conversation. It was someone who's maybe we'll say a bit fearful of AI, so they're anti AI everything, and they're like basically I think the hill they were willing to die on was just that it's going to replace jobs, the whole mentality. But that kind of paired with it's just it the same mindset. It can't do what I do, right? Which again I think is a very arrogant, foolish perspective. But My response was something to the tune of, well, that's all fine and good, but I have a washing machine, and I like to use it. I
Yeah.
can go and wash my clothes by hand, but I'm not what John Ingalls. Like I'd prefer not to. I would prefer to use the washing machine. I can get to my destination by foot, or if I had a horse and carriage, but my truck is a lot faster. All things neutral, assuming it's not harming anyone or doing anything inherently wrong. Why wouldn't we do something more efficiently, effectively, and with a better output? So that's
Completely. Yeah, this that made me think of this thing and to tangent off the tangent. Sorry, I there was that viral quote that was talking about I don't want AI to do my writing to free me up so I can do laundry and dishes. I want AI to do my laundry and dishes so I have more time for writing. I understand the sentiment of that.
sure.
That's great. I don't want this mind to have a body yet. I'm like, why would we want to put that in? I want this thing limited to my computer. That's what I want. And I want it doing things that leave me energy to do the type of writing I want to do. So I used to be more of a writer for fun, but really what I do in my free time, like the creative things that I really like music. I love playing music. I love writing music. I have no ambitions of ever doing anything with music. It is literally for the process. I find it very soothing, cathartic. That's great. I used to not play as much because I would do so much writing during the day. My brain was just too tired to do anything creatively at night. I have probably been playing an hour to an hour and a half a day for the past 6 months, just because at night
That's
when my
awesome.
kids go to bed, I just have the time and my head isn't, I'm not exhausted all the time.
Yeah,
So it's been a big
that's
plus.
incredible. No,
Yeah.
yeah, it frees us up to do the things we're uniquely qualified to do. It's a tool.
Yes, and the things that we love, like that
Yeah.
just makes it just makes things.
It's good to know I'm in good company. Yeah, it's it's refreshing to hear. I would love to hear you mention it, the different modalities or use cases or functions or kind of copilot workflow agent, like the different kind of packages and kind of fulfillment like
Yeah.
deployment opportunities there. What's the difference in those?
I think when people talk about AI, the most okay, I think when people say they use AI, the majority mean ChatGPT as like a co-pilot. So I'm doing this task and this thing, I'm going to ask it this question, it's going to give me this response, I'm going to use, that's fine. I think what people are afraid of are the AI agents, where everything is so automated that you click a button, a CEO would click a button, and their website and all the content they would need would get done and fulfilled, and it's just don't need anything anymore. Or for sales team, AI SDRs right now are huge, where you click a button and 50,000 emails go out that are personalized or whatever. So at Copy AI, and I'm really happy to have when you have an internal discussion with a team and you kind of got to convince yourself to get on board with it and you're like, okay, I'll do that. There's none of this. This was like, yeah, no, this is spot on accurate. And the internal team discussion went like this. We don't believe that co-pilots are the way for go-to-market teams going forward. The reason being they're good for brainstorming, they're good for a little one-off tasks and things like that, but they're not going to unlock the efficiency that you're looking for at a team scale. And you're going to have other problems specifically with, let's say, marketing. You likely, if you have different people prompting on their own, you're going to come out with inconsistent messaging, different tones, different styles. It is hard to make AI consistently given a brand voice. It's really easy to make AI sound generic. So unless you have the right systems in place that your whole team can access that same quality, then you're just going to have inconsistent branding, which, by the way, brand voices up until now have been very inconsistent. I know people don't like to say that, but you have editors leave, you have new ones come in with their style, you have new writers churn, things like that. AI can now, like across the board, but co-pilots make it very difficult to do that. Um, Big fan of workflows, and the difference between workflow and a co-pilot is with a workflow, rather than just helping with a one-off task, we take the process for that task and we codify the best practices, and then we can repeat that task at scale. So for example, I don't just tell, like if I was using a copilot to write or update a blog post, I might say like, hey, given this content brief or given this keyword, write me a post on X topic. And I'm giving AI way too much freedom because I'm not having it go through the same process that I would go through as a writer. Now, as a writer, what I do is I would go to Google. I would, if I'm writing something to rank, I'd go to Google. First, I'd target the keyword. Then I'd go to Google. I would see what is ranking. I would see if there are any information gaps that I can add on to that. I would see how our product ties into that problem or topic, how we can solve it for the audience, depending on what type. If it's a top of the funnel, I'm probably not going to do a super huge product pitch, but I'm going to have some areas in there. It's got to be somewhat relatable to our product. So I'm going to go through this entire process. And now we've built a workflow internally that does exactly what I would do. So when I put a keyword in, and I still have to do the strategy on the keyword. If I have bad strategy, all AI is going to do is scale bad results, and we don't want that. So so strategy has to stay very human. Once I have the keywords and I've cherry picked those, I put that in. This thing will then go to Google, this workflow. It will research the top 5 articles ranking, scrape the H2 and H3 headings, figure out what type of information is there, figure out what information probably should be there but isn't. Look at the text to tell me what kind of vocabulary should be in there to be competitive to rank, so the secondary keywords that would be helpful. Scrapes our website for internal links, scrapes with a statistic agent a bunch of external research around that topic so that after the first draft, our editor can plug and play with stats if they want. And they're like, oh, we don't want that. So they don't have to go off and Google a bunch of stuff. So they can click to the source. They can verify everything. It's really neat. Then it goes through to the brief. So I can make sure that the brief is all nice and looks good. And then that gets taken to the long form draft, which is usually at 2,000 to 3,000 words with internal links, with external links with research and statistics. It's incredible. Have I ever just published it after that? Absolutely not. No, it takes us about 30 minutes per 1,000 words to edit. So now that blog post, instead of taking, oh man, I think when I was, well, I already said this, so I won't say this. At some places I've worked, you were expected to do about 1 blog post every 3 to 5 business days was to keep it high quality. This gives us same day turnarounds. This gives us about 2 hours per keyword to post. So it's really neat. But
That's
that's for
great.
top of the funnel stuff, right? Like that's for
Yeah.
purely
Yeah.
informational stuff. We have different playbooks and different processes for different types of articles. We
Yeah.
just codify those in different workflows separately. So it's
Yeah.
really cool.
No, I love that. And it makes sense because, that is obviously far too advanced for something that's just a general LLM copilot sidekick, right? It's beyond just the commoditized, like, hey, give me a quick 200 word, average of the internet post for LinkedIn, right? This is like,
Exactly. Yeah.
yeah, you're trained on our SOPs, you're trained on our, personas, like internally, our like this is our tone of voice. These are our topics. These are the
Yeah.
keywords. So yeah, it's another employee. It's an intern, but like a highly skilled, a highly
Super,
calibrated intern.
super skilled that is so flexible. It's when we talk about like building workflows, and I was happy earlier you said you're not technical. I'm not either. I had the privilege of speaking at Golden Hour, put on by Audience Plus this year. They had an awesome conference. We got to go and talk about it. And my colleague, this guy Shikar, he's head of solutions. He's awesome, so smart. And it's going to make him sound bad. I promise. He didn't say it as an insult. We had a good laugh about it because he's spot on. And he said, Nathan, you are just the perfect simpleton to be delivering this type to this audience because I'm not technical at all. I don't code. I have more than that. Let me even double down on this. Not only am I not technical, I have no desire to become technical. I
Yeah.
don't enjoy it. I don't want to hunt down, but some people, their minds, man, my dad, he built an airplane in the garage. He's a pilot. He's got this brain, built a website with HTML in the 90s.
Wow.
He's got the brain for that.
Yeah.
I would go insane after 10 minutes of trying to find a
Yeah.
weird div thing in HTML. Get out of here. So
Yeah.
I don't want this allows me to make really cool stuff without any technical knowledge. Like I don't know how LLMs work at a technical level. I can't
Yeah.
explain it
Yeah.
to you. But I can tell you how they make me great blog posts.
No, I love it. I'm glad you mentioned that, right? And I can share in that. Like there's deep resonance, and I think that there's an advantage to kind of having. We're all familiar with the curse of knowledge, right? So someone who is technical, they cannot take off the part of their brain that they've built for the last many years that knows their product intimately. They've built it. They've built it from zero. So we have an advantage in that we can kind of be the conduit, the ambassador to our user because they're not the ones that are building it. They need it. They're their user. So it's like if we can kind of be, temporarily ignorant to the perspective of like which kinds of questions would they be asking, the person who built it can't because they know it already. So
Yeah.
I do that as well. Kind of when I come in to work with a company, like a client, I always refer to it as like I'm linking arms with you. Like you're the expert in your field. I'm just gonna like headline expert knowledge of what you do so that I can understand the client or the customer or the user, whomever we're trying to speak to. What are their pain points? What are their problems? What are we trying to communicate to them? And how should we best package it? And that's what I do. And I shouldn't be to the level of knowledge that they are because I kind of need that perspective to say, oh, like, okay, well, let's dumb it down, right? Let's simplify it. Let's take this complex, super intricate, jargon-filled phrase and make it palatable, right? Remove the cleverness and make it clear. And that's a world I'm happy to live in. And I'm a simpleton with you. I love it.
Oh yeah, sometimes we have meetings and things get too technical. I just say, "Hey, somebody make this make sense for me, please, because I'm too dumb to get this, please." And help. Although it's so funny because I've noticed it's the weirdest thing. Technical people need to work on the skill of taking complex ideas and making them simple. I have met many marketers who need to learn the skill of taking something very simple and keeping it simple. There
Yeah.
is this weird push with, I don't know why, with content and to make things more complicated than they have to be. It's
Yeah.
like you said with copywriting. I have to think a lot of copywriters got together and they're like, guys, we should just have some pretension about us so that other people think this is hard so that they don't try to do this because it's not that hard. You listen to your customers and you replicate what they're saying and then you test it, and at the end of the day, it really doesn't matter what you like or dislike. I mean, unless it's your business, excuse me. But it really matters what your audience likes and what they are interested in. They're the hero of your story.
Exactly.
Sorry, we got way off topic. This is
No,
nothing.
hey, you were speaking my language. I love that so much, and it's funny. I've noticed the same. There's this like unnecessary level of complexity that just kind of this like cloud looming over this world. Like at the end of the day, we are messengers of something. We are bridging a gap between problem and solution. And I think like if anything, we should be fighting to simplify it because it makes it more accessible, which makes it applicable, which makes, hey, the problem go away, right? So instead of trying to like, yeah, be pretentious and yeah, I'm not just putting words on the internet. It's far more complicated than that. But like, can it be simple?
Would
That's
it
yeah,
just be, yeah, what would happen if you were just putting words on the internet and you were concerned more with
yes,
what those words did for your audience than how those words made you look to other people?
yeah,
It's really an interesting thing. It's why I'm very lucky, and it's not lost on me to have the team that I'm with right now. Our CMO has often said, Kyle Coleman has often said, like, yeah, guys, this is important, but at the end of the day, it's like not that important. Like when nobody's dying. And then our head of life cycle will often say, "Look, we're not saving babies here. Okay, no one's doing the Lord's work. Let's just relax." And I
that's awesome.
love that that's the mentality of our colleagues.
I love it. Yeah, I think you have to have that level of like, don't take the thing too seriously. I
Yeah.
think it opens up margin for error, which from a creative perspective, it gives you room to play, right, and try new things and see how this fits, and it keeps it fun. And I think when you're
Yeah.
creating it with fun, it's received in that same manner.
I think that's right. In fact, I said this 7 months ago, and I don't think we pulled it off yet, but I was like, guys, we need to be the marketing team that's just having fun because people want to hang out with the team that's having fun. You just want to do business with the people who look like they're having fun and don't hate their lives. You don't
Yeah,
want to do business with the people who look burnt out because they're selling their own product. That's exhausting. That's not fun.
yeah. No, I'm
Yeah,
here
if
for
you're
it.
having fun at your like I this is and I totally get it because I've had jobs where literally I just had to be there because bills to pay. I will say to anyone in that position, really, if you can start playing with AI to put yourself in a position where you don't hate 9 to 5 every single day. This is the first time I've been in a job where I'm like, no, I'm in the exact right spot where I need to be. And it's a feeling that I would wish for everybody because I've had the opposite of that and it's miserable to wake up to a job. It's just miserable. So hopefully if jobs go away, they will be the terrible jobs nobody liked and it will open up
Yeah.
new jobs that are uniquely for humans.
No, I'm in total and complete agreement with you. It's like I can't remember if I said it in this conversation or with another one earlier today, actually. But I think if we can clear the space to do the thing that we are uniquely qualified to do, and like we can just devote the full effort to that thing, I do think the end product is better. The person that's receiving it is more appreciative because it feels genuine and it feels sincere. It feels like it was created in fun. And I think, yeah, like that's a world I want to live in, right? Creating more of the things that we're uniquely qualified to create. I'm curious as we talk about that, and I know we've touched on it a bit, but I wanted to give you the chance to kind of, rant on it, if you will. We talked a bit before about like, people kind of maybe throwing the baby out with the bathwater, right? And that segueing into quality, right, as it pertains to context of the content. So again, I know you kind of harped on it a little bit, but I wanted to give, like full stage, center stage microphone for you to kind of just speak to that as you would.
Harp on it, I will.
Yes.
I will not make any friends with this. Um, I have long gotten very mad at the word quality in content. Not because I don't think quality matters. Of course it does. It is just so subjective. I don't know what anyone's talking about when they say it. I can't think of a single definition of quality that I've heard regarding content that does not involve some type of very subjective adjective. What do you mean well researched? That means something different to you than it does to me. What do you mean engaging? That word means something different to you than it does to me. It's why we have different genres of entertainment. People have different tastes, different preferences, different styles. I really love blues music. My wife really loves hipster acoustic music. Neither of us can understand why the other person, but it's a personal preference. It doesn't matter. So when we're talking about things like adjectives, good, bad, well researched, fun, funny, it's too subjective to be helpful. And it really does cause a problem because what you can have is the head of content who's focused on we need our content to drive revenue. Then you can have an editor with a completely different idea of, no, we just need to make content that's quality. And they're defining quality in their head for what it is. And then you have their team of writers, and each of the writer has a different definition of what quality is. And you can put it in brand guidelines or whatever. But at the end of the day, I I just haven't seen a good definition of quality that is anything other than what the team lead ultimately likes or doesn't like personally. And I think that's super inefficient. I don't think that's a great way to run your content. I, the way that the closest we've been able to get here, what I view for quality is is it accurate? Because that has to be the number one priority with AI content, in my opinion. Is it accurate? It has to always be 100% accurate. Those hallucinations are really easy to shortcut if you're not reading it, and I do worry about people just hitting publish without being a human in the loop. But again, that's a human problem. That's not AI's fault.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I have held us to the standard of quality. Is it accurate? And is it helpful to the people we are trying to help? That last part was really important because in February to April, we did a big content push on sales content. A lot of go-to-market sales content because we were switching from that B2C to B2B. And so we had to have a different type of content on our website. So we switched to sales content. The odd thing was all of the feedback I would get from marketers in my LinkedIn network was not great on those blog posts. I would get messages saying those are boring, they're just lists, they're stupid, they're concise, they're dry. Every sales rep I spoke to said, these are awesome. They give me everything I need. They're concise. There's no fluff. So if I asked marketers about the quality of our blog on those sales things, they would have told me it was bad. But I wasn't writing it for marketers. I was writing it for sales reps. So for me, quality really came down to my targeted audience's reaction to that content much more than it did to I didn't like everything that I published. I was like, yeah, this is kind of lame. I don't love that. But then people would reach out and they're like, this helped me. That's great. So
Yeah.
uh, quality, I would just if you're if you're worried about AI and quality, I would just really encourage you to define quality as objectively as you can, and then
Yeah.
figure out what it is about AI that can't do that. Because I just don't see the argument. I don't know.
I love it. I love it so much. I think that to me, and it's not, there are a lot of parallels in the world of, video content and creation in that perspective too, right? So much of it is subjective and preference varies and I'm with you, right? Like I look at certain things and as a viewer and as an audience, I gravitate more toward certain things than I do others. As with music, like I shared, not a fan of country, sorry, but like there's if you can maintain the objective measures of what is it trying to accomplish, that should be the marker of quality. And I say that in agreement because you know I, the world that I exist in, there are some people who exclusively create video content from their phone and they don't care about composition, they don't care about lighting, they don't care about any of the things that I make a living off of, right?
Yeah.
And that's fine, right? Because it's for their use case, it's for their audience, and UGC content is a whole world of its own, and like maybe there's like an authenticity and a sincerity to it because it's like not overproduced. And on the other end, a world I don't care for is the over bloated, you know, uh, massive production where there's a lot of waste, right? There are too many people on set and there's way too much money being spent and there's maybe a negligible return, if any. I'm like, okay, well, I operate maybe this DIY scrappy, but still trying to get quality, but it's objective oriented. It's always marketing hat first. And then we let that inform the creative. And like, that's not for everyone, but that's where I plant my flag and I firmly stand there. So yeah, all
That's
that to
what.
say, I agree with you.
Yeah. And both camps are going to have an audience enough to build a business out of, right? Like that's what's great. Both camps have opportunities there. And yeah, I do think you're really lucky with the video. Planting your flag on that. Sorry, that just crossed my mind. I do think the video is going to be the way to go for sure. I think that's awesome.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm excited.
sorry, just yeah, full left handed there.
Oh, that's refreshing. I'll have to share maybe offline a couple of my ideas with where I'm trying to take this little SaaS project I'm working on. Like it's funny because like I was gonna have someone like go in and fix the bugs and retool it a bit. And I'm like, why do I want to pay to have it fixed to just break it apart, rebrand it, and build it up all over again? So I'm just like I shut it down and I'm back in the lab, so to speak. But it's interesting because like where I've arrived, it's not only is it bootstrapped, it's like as lean as the lean startup method can be. It's like the skeleton startup, and it's like I really have to let this like have proof of concept multiple times over to be able to justify putting effort into it. But I say that to say like it's very much on the front end going to be, or at the beginning, going to be almost like a productized SaaS or like a manually fulfilled, front end looking like a SaaS would, but manually fulfilled until there's validation on, okay, hey, this is the bucket of deliverables that it's most used or most requested. So let's do away with the rest and let's double down on this. And yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with it.
Yeah, and I think we're going to see. I also think people should be building things like that right now, if for no other reason. And I'm using myself as an example, not your product, because that sounds rad. My thing was, my version of that was before the AI stuff came out. This was back in 2022, so we weren't workflows. We were still kind of a chat wrapper. Was trying to create AI-driven blog posts when Copy AI came out with one of their first. It was GTB 3.5, I think, back then. Like back then, 16 months ago. Uh, try. Um, Nothing happened with many of those blogs. Absolutely nothing. Except for the massive amounts of learning that I was able to take from them to my next projects and build over that. And so now, 3 years, no, 2 years later, 2.5 years later, I can set up things way faster than a lot of people in this space because I've broken so much shit on purpose in the past. And
Exactly.
so everyone should be building this. If you're a marketer, go use AI to build a blog on your own. Throw spaghetti at the wall.
Yeah.
If you are trying to build a tech product, use a copilot or ChatGPT to help you with that technical stuff. Just go. Now is
Yeah.
the best time to be alive and to low stakes break everything. It's just so
Exactly.
cool. It's just
Yeah.
fun.
No, I agree wholeheartedly. And yeah, it's like everything that I learned through that first iteration, like those are skills I carry with me into the next iteration.
That's
And
exactly it.
yeah,
Yeah, and then
it's
those learnings compound, right? Like I
exactly.
and yeah, I can't wait to see. Well, I guess my compounding knowledge will be marketing knowledge, and when I'm 60, that's not going to help me much. But I should probably start compounding knowledge and helpful stuff
Oh,
later.
you could build you could train like agents to consult on your behalf. They're trained
There it
on
is.
on your
Yeah, there
marketing
we go. No,
knowledge.
I'm leading my way up to my colleagues think I'm crazy. I'm leading my way up to doggy talkie. I want a dog collar that basically lets me talk to my dog with chat, and it'll just talk back to me in my favorite celebrity voice. That's all I want.
Oh, that's incredible. That
It'll
seems
talk to my
doable
dog.
within
Yeah,
a reasonable amount of time.
that's what I'm
That's
saying.
incredible.
Saving money. So, oh, funny.
This has been great. Is there anything I didn't ask that I should have?
I think we ran the gambit. Yeah, yeah, I think we ran the gamut. I think we covered it. I am concerned people are going to think that I'm the AI marketer who hates quality, but outside of that,
I think that's what I'm going to title the
yeah,
video. I think that's the thumbnail and title
I
right there.
love it. Nathan, the AI who hates quality. That's it.
Yeah, curmudgeon who hates qual. No, I'm
That's
kidding.
it.
This
Oh,
is
it is.
great.
I did tell you, yeah, off camera, I did tell you that if I sound like a jackass in these clips, that's on me. So that's fine. It's good.
I think it's been great. Like I, for one, can say like I've taken a lot of notes. If you've seen me feverishly taking notes, it's because I think you've shared a ton of value here, and that's my goal with this is to kind of go through. You shared the journey of what got you guys to where you are today, the ups and the downs, right? Like iterations. You started as one thing, and now you're something totally new because you've built and grown and learned from it. And I think that there's a ton here for someone to glean from. So I appreciate it.
Hopefully, yeah, hopefully it's helpful. Because there's a lot of information out there. So anyone who took the time to listen, that's obviously super nice. Everyone's just fighting for attention now. So
Yeah, no
thanks
kidding.
everyone nice enough to listen.
Yeah, high five if you're still with us. So where can people find you if they want to kind of get in touch, or if they want to see what you're creating and what you're working on? Where's the best place for them to go?
That's yeah. LinkedIn is the smartest, and then on LinkedIn, like everyone and their mother, I started a Substack. The difference, however, is it is a forever free Substack. That I don't have any idea who reads it or how many subscribers I have. Every Friday, I just talk about what I did and then what I will be doing as like a working journals. And I really do pull back the curtain on what we're doing internally at Copy AI. I just share it freely. And the reason it's forever free, the idea is I will not use it to eventually sell a course. It will just stay like a little journal diary. But the biggest reason is because I can be flaky. And so like last week, my buddy came out and visited and we went to Banff. And it was Friday. I was like, oh shit, I forgot. And then I was like, oh wait, but it's free, so that's okay. They can wait till Monday. It's fine. So I just keep it for myself free, that I don't feel pressure to always update it. But it is the window to our strategy.
I love it. Yeah, I'm reading your I'm reading your homework there. I'm taking it and I'm learning, and yeah, I think your whole process of building in public is admirable, and it's one that like myself I can pick up breadcrumbs and clues along the way. So yeah, again, appreciate that, and I'm learning from it immensely.
Well, and happy to do it. I've learned so much from other people who have done the same. So yeah, if it can be helpful, that's the best.
Absolutely. Well, again, Nathan, thanks for coming on. It's been an absolute pleasure. I'm certain that people will get value out of this.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. I on Hey Nice Sass. I just love that time. I just love saying it. I just love saying it.
It's fun. That was the goal. Yeah, have fun with what you create, and
I
people will have
love it.
fun receiving it. Right?
Amazing.
Awesome. I appreciate it, man.
All right. Thank you.